Hey, I'm Sara Gonzales. Welcome to the news and why it matters, the Swamp Edition, and it is swampy here in D.C. I am joined by all new members of the panel, so we're really, really excited. First up, we have Jesse Kelly, host of the Jesse Kelly Radio Show. You came up with that name yourself?
All by myself. I don't like to brag. Took some time.
Yeah, well, good job on that. Good job on that. So what is your top story today, Jesse?
Top story today is there's a story in the Huffington Post about a man who's still going through counseling because an older woman kissed him when he was 23.
I can imagine the trauma in that. I can't wait to get into the details. All right, and we have Drew Berquist, who is a Blaze TV host himself. First, tell us your show so that they can find you, and then tell us your top story.
All right, yeah, well, it's good to be here. So the show is Experience Matters with Drew Berquist. And the topic is the wall. Like I want to get into the wall. I want to talk about how Customs and Border is saying that their agents are demanding that we have it because it just makes sense. But also, and you've talked about this, and you did an awesome job, I want to talk about the $50,000 payment that everyone wants to leave. So we'll get into it.
Okay, all right. And we have White House correspondent Jon Miller. And I'm so sad for you. You actually live here?
I live here, which is a shame.
Oh,
and it's
that's terrible.
I deal with it every day.
That's terrible. But Blaze TV White House correspondent, what is your top story,
So
Jon?
today I want to talk about the looming government shutdown. I mean, I hope the grass at the national parks doesn't get too dry while we try to figure out how to stop people from coming in and killing our families.
Got a lot to get into, obviously. Before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. I know I have two veterans here. So I think it's probably safe to say that maybe some days certain parts of your body might hurt.
Pretty much all of them, yeah.
Yeah. You maybe have been a little bit hard on your body. Okay, so I have a product for you. It's called Relief Factor. I was in a car crash in 2013, and I got a bunch of spinal injuries, protruding discs, herniated discs. I was just in constant pain all the time. Finally found Relief Factor. I had tried acupuncture, massage, you name it, TINS unit, everything. It was just temporary relief. So Relief Factor, it's 100% natural, and it finally has gotten me out of pain. So if you're looking for something that's 100% natural, you've tried the pharmaceutical drugs, which I don't love to try. I know you men are like, natural, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Okay, well this one does. So you can get a 3-week quick start pack for $19.95. About 70% of the people who try that quick start pack go on to buy it again. It's working. The odds are in your favor that it's going to work for you. If you're looking to get out of pain, go to relieffactor.com. All right, Jesse, so a 23-year-old man, traumatized.
We have to start with the most tragic story of them all.
Absolutely.
Look, I hate to bring everybody down, but he was so traumatized by this years later and claims that it was sexual assault. And I read the article. I clicked on the headline because I actually cared because, I mean, terrible things can happen to men. And I read down and he talks about how he's still struggling with this. And I'm like, God, what happened to this guy? And it's about second or third paragraph down. He's 23 and at a drunken college party, and some cougar finds him and kisses him, and he says, sticks her tongue down his throat.
Whoa.
Sticks her tongue down his throat, and then did it again at the party. He then goes on to brag to all his friends about it for days, but now that he's seen his therapist, he realizes that he was sexually assaulted.
Did the therapist tell him that he was sexually assaulted?
That's what I'm thinking.
Because, I mean, I really now have to go back through my history and figure out all the times that I was sexually assaulted. Because I could be a billionaire by now with all of these.
A 23-year-old man who gets kissed by a beautiful older woman, that's called a good night. That's not called sexual assault. That's a good night.
I mean, that's true, but I mean, we're teaching our females that too, aren't we? That, if you go to a party and how else are you supposed to date other than you read into other people's cues? Okay, she's giving me the cue, she's flirting, she's into me, I'm going to go in for it.
Yeah.
And then girls are being told later also that, and you shouldn't have done that. You didn't give explicit consent.
And the Title IX definitions that Obama put in define unwanted sexual advances. So she doesn't want it. It's sexual harassment, and that's how they define it, which is just insane. So, I mean, you want to know why so many people are single and the fertility rates are going down. I mean, it's
Yeah, well, because that's so subjective.
Yeah.
Because you could have a woman who, okay, I find this man attractive,
right,
so he's going to say the same thing to me. I'm okay with it.
Right, you're okay with it. As an ugly dude, you're not good with it.
Well, fertility rates are going down because of articles like this. In fact, your testosterone levels drop.
Yeah, when you read it,
through the article.
Right.
I was almost a woman by the time I was done.
Yeah, but this doesn't make sense. that's a great night for a guy, right? Like you said, like this is how you want it to end. If you don't want it to end that way, then you probably shouldn't be at the party. But for two, like you lose some serious bro points on that one. Like you're dropping this card now, guys. I was kissed. Yeah. I'm seeing a therapist over it. Like it literally, it could be anyone. It doesn't have to be an attractive person either. Like you don't go see a therapist for that.
And
like,
even if you are that pillow soft inside that you feel like you were really, at least you should have some pride in front of your buddies and just shut up about it.
Exactly.
Don't pour. Real people have really been assaulted and had horrible things done to them.
For sure.
Get out of here.
And you're wasting the therapist's time. I mean, there's people who could be seeing that therapist who have actually been raped, have actually been sexually assaulted, and instead you're wasting time with this stuff.
Does the therapist enjoy this? Does this like, oh, this is too rich?
You know he goes home and tells his wife, you wouldn't believe the sissy I had on the couch today.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is a good way to make money, right?
Absolutely.
Tell someone something bad happened to them and have them keep coming back.
Yeah.
But, I do think it raises an interesting point about I'll call it the Me Too movement. I realize that this was a male in this situation, but...
men can be Me Too.
Yes, yes.
Don't be
but
sexist.
I mean... Excuse me. Females have dominated that movement for better or worse. But it is sad to see them trivializing it, like this gentleman right here, in that there are actual survivors of real sexual assault, and we're lumping all of these things into this movement, and it's become really damaging, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem with all movements, though, is once a movement starts and you jump on, you water down the movement if you don't treat each and every individual case as its own case, because they all have their own story and their own level of validity. And so when you have some 23-year-old dork whining about getting kissed, the women out there who've gone through actual awful things, that's embarrassing. Yeah. How could he stand in the same room with them and be like, hey,
and they're doing it on purpose. I mean, you just had Sports Illustrated introduce Rachel Den Hollander, who's an actual victim of child molestation. Christine Blasey Ford's introducing her in the video, who is it's unverifiable, uncorroborated, unsubstantiated accusations. And by putting them together, I think you do a disservice to the people who have actually experienced real trauma and have actually been victims of this stuff.
She's up for Time Person of the Year, too, isn't she?
Who isn't up for Time Person of the Year?
Christine
Jim Acosta. Yeah, she was in the top 10.
She was in the top 10.
Yeah.
Even if she wins, she won't remember. Wait, are we going to be in trouble for that?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. I want to move on to what's going on at the border.
Yeah, so, you had this week, obviously, and again, I thought Jon did an awesome job. So many people have talked about it, but you had this particular group from Honduras. Everyone's storming the border. Everyone's talking about how, they're entitled to come in, this, that, and the other. But these guys took it a step further, which I think is hilarious. Like, I think it's
you're laughing at tragedy.
It's pure gold. So not only do we want to come into your country illegally, we want you to improve the speed at which you are offering asylum.
Too slow.
Yeah, you're going too slow. So we're going to say instead of 50 a day, we need you to process 300. And then also, by the way, if you don't want us to stay here and keep pushing these initiatives, you need to pay us $50,000 per person to leave. And in total Hans Gruber style, they've been you have 72 hours to comply. So there's literally a time window. It's to me a perfect movie with terrorists, or we need to let our comrades out of prison in Serbia in the next 72 hours, or we will start killing people. This is what's going on down there. It's just a whole nother level of absurd. And obviously there's great people down there. There's good people who want to come in. They want to do it the right way, which I think everyone's for. If they're not,
we just haven't seen any of them.
Right.
There's
Well,
good food too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that the people who want to come in the right way are the ones who are storming the border.
Exactly, they're not. So there's break. Everyone is putting this emphasis on all the wrong pictures when you've got a bunch of military-age males down there storming the border, throwing rocks, doing all the wrong things. These are, by the way, the same people saying that they're entitled to $50,000. And I can't wait. I told this to Jon earlier. I can't wait to see the first Democrat, liberal, whoever you are, I don't care who you are, come out and actually defend this. Whether it's
I think it's going to be Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez is my guess. She's going to defend it. These people, it's not a lot of money. It's $50,000.
Yeah.
Just give them each. They each want $50,000. Just pay it. They go home. They start a business.
Yeah.
And all the American citizens who want to start businesses and probably want $50,000 to start a business,
Yeah.
They don't
And
need the money.
surely that won't teach anyone else that if
No,
they come
if-
over
no.
here, they can
They get 50
strong-arm
grand to
us
turn
into-
around?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
That's
it's a
not
great
setting
incentive.
a precedent
Nope.
at all.
See, I
right?
totally respect
reasonable.
it. I totally respect that kind of hustle. That's a great hustle right there.
It is
It's
good
like
hustle.
the guy who invented flats and sells it to women. I mean, that's just nothing but a hustle. It's the worst thing in the world. But if you can show up at the border and demand 50 grand, it's worth an ask.
Yeah. Well, no,
The closed mouth don't get
I'm
fed.
going to do it. Like, I think we do it. Like,
Let's go down and
let's
do it.
it.
We leave and
Make
then
the trek.
and then
Make
make
the
the trek
trek.
and come back.
I can be
It's a great
Honduran.
idea.
We film it too. We turn it into a documentary. We make
course.
money on top of it. The 50 is just like a down payment.
That's
and
just the start.
beginning. Yeah.
To get things off the ground.
John, what is your? I know you said that you have a video on this. So
Yes.
what's your take on it?
I mean, I just think it's absurd. There really is no other hot take other than the absolute absurdity of it.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible that the median income, I think, in America is just above 50. So it's not that much more than 50. The average teacher doesn't make that
50
much
there.
money. And they're saying, oh, it's not that much money, you guys, from the money you've stolen from us. I haven't stolen anything
no.
from a Honduran.
I
so
haven't either.
I don't know what they're talking about.
These guys,
But-
maybe they have.
Yeah, maybe.
But I haven't.
I'm not
You're
confirming or denying anything.
It was a busy night last night.
Yeah, and some you might not remember, but so I think it is it's setting a precedent that the entitlements that you see and the mentality that they can just come to our country, take what they want, and if we don't give it to them, they're entitled to money from us. I mean, we have people in the country who are suffering, and we have people in the country who have their own businesses they want to start, but it doesn't matter because apparently we have to help the Hondurans start their business. And it's this kind of a globalist mentality where we are responsible for the well-being of other people in the world. And I just think we have too many problems in this country to have to be responsible for people in Honduras.
And we shouldn't forget.
And we can't forget Guatemala
They're
and El
claiming
Salvador.
asylum as well.
Yeah.
They're claiming asylum, but they're now interviewing the people and finding out they're not
They're
escaping, or they're not escaping.
nothing.
They're coming here for jobs and a better
Right,
life.
right.
Okay,
Right.
which I get, but that's not
not
what asylum's for.
Right.
And in fact, the official numbers, 9% of the people actually qualify for asylum. So it's, they're clogging up the system for other people who actually have legitimate claims for
Right.
asylum for their nonsense. So
Right. And I mean, Drew, even the Border Patrol chief, that he was interviewed on, I believe, Fox News, he's like, we need a wall. We're all seeing this. We're the ones who are here. We need something. We need a barrier.
Yeah, well, to me, like, yes, you do. Like, it's just common sense, right? You see the security threats down there, and people are so ready and willing to be blind and
Right.
turn a blind eye to the threats that come through there. It's not just the folks in the caravan. It's not just, you've obviously got violent cartels out there. We've seen, in my old line of work and other lines of work, extremists come through that way. So it is very porous and open. And it makes the job of everyone working down there super tough because, yeah, you've got drones now, you've got additional support, but it is a huge expanse of territory. So if you can funnel these folks in, it also, I think, helps this whole, okay, if your argument is it's inhumane to like do kind of the things that we do down there, well, the humane thing is let's have a border because you're not a country without a border. Let's make it easier on our folks who, some of the Border Patrol don't even make 50. Let's make it easier, and then the people who want to come legitimately, let's funnel them into checkpoints. There's one here, there's one here, so you don't have a mother and her child out roaming the desert,
right,
and
trying to figure out how to get in. And you saw the young kid who died because I mean these parents, they're not feeding them because there is no food there.
Right.
I think there's more food back from where they came, but I mean what they're doing to these kids is close to child abuse.
Absolutely.
And you talk about a wall. I mean you saw the pictures of the mom who tried to stuff her baby through the hole. So it has to be like a wall that actually goes into the ground
Yes.
and underground. It cannot be a little fence that doesn't actually do anything.
Well, it's important we understand that walls and fences don't work. That's why every civilization in the history of the world is built.
It has built them
Exactly, yeah.
to fortify their
Yeah.
country, their city-state, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's-
Great point. All right, back in a minute. It's just parents who put them on the front line. We're talking about at the border these people who don't have food. Let me tell you what they need. They need My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply is, it's emergency food supply. Now, I wouldn't call myself a prepper. I'm not a prepper, but you never know what could go wrong. We've got wildfires that have been going on in California. You've got a hurricane. You never know when disaster is going to strike. You've got the Democrats that are going to come into power in January in the House.
Democrats are coming.
You don't know when disaster is going to happen. And that's the point, is that you have to plan for the unplanned. Yeah. That's where my Patriot Supply comes in. It is emergency food. It's got a 25-year shelf life. It tastes great. They come in these awesome little totes. It makes it super easy. You grab the totes, you throw them in the car, you go with your family. Everyone needs 2 to 3 weeks of emergency food supply. I'm not saying a year. I'm
we
not
should
saying
start our
5
own
years.
caravan and take
should.
Patriot Supply and then deliver it to the migrants and then demand to come back in.
And
then
get
get our
the
50 grand,
50,000.
50 grand, and then buy more.
Yes.
Perfect.
I actually have a go bag already with food,
With food
in it,
ready?
but I don't have anything like that. I do need to get.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
you
got
do.
granola bars and things like that in
not
there, but I
gonna-
don't
that's
have
not gonna
real
last.
legitimate food like that.
And it's
so.
perfect right now. They have a deal. You can get 2 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 2 weeks of emergency food supply for $75.
That's
So
awesome.
I mean, that's easy. That's cheaper than taking your family out to dinner on Friday night. So go to preparewithnews.com. That is preparewithnews.com. Order your 2 weeks worth of emergency food supply. $75. That's a no-brainer. Preparewithnews.com. John, I want to talk about the looming government shutdown.
Yes. So, I mean, everyone is...
Speaking of disaster.
Speaking of disaster,
I mean-
the government shutting down, I mean, that's going to be... I don't know what the country's going to do. I mean, I don't know how people are going to eat. I don't know how people are going to live. I don't know how they're going to feed their families. I think there was a poll that said the majority of people oppose a government shutdown. I think if more people knew actually what happens in a government shutdown, they would be more for it, because the president still works, Congress still works, presidential appointees still work. I mean, the TSA still works, the air traffic control, postal office, that is all still open. So really the only thing is some people get a delay on their pay. Parks are going to have to close. I know if you're planning a trip with your family to a park, museums are going to have to close. But at the end of the day, I think this is all worth it for fixing our immigration system, which all of these actual tragic things that are happening because Congress can't get together and actually get things done. So I think that our government, they're not doing what we elected them to do. So why keep them open if they're not going to do what they were mandated to do by the American people in 2016?
The biggest problem with the government shutdown is it doesn't shut down enough of the government.
Right.
It shut
They
down
still-
the legislative
all the-
branch and all the rest of
Well,
it
and
too.
it shows too. I've been involved in a couple shutdowns, and you don't get your pay for a while, and then you get it on the back end, and
Right.
it all works out, which stinks for some younger families.
Inconvenient, probably.
It's inconvenient,
Yeah.
and if you don't have savings because you're younger, then it maybe bites you a little bit more than others. But it shows the level of bloat. Like it's like you're emergency essential. Okay, so if you're doing operations, you're still doing it. All the folks at the White House. So it's like, well, we can get by with just this, right?
Right. The whole point is like
Right. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, cutting all non-essential employees.
Yeah.
I'm like,
If they're not essential, why are we paying for them?
Why do we have
Exactly.
non-essential employees in the first place? So what you're saying is, don't panic.
So I don't panic. I mean, this government was shut down one time in D.C. because of wind. It was too windy, and so we had to shut down the government. Everyone was fine, and
Just seems
there was
kind
no
of wussy,
disaster.
to be honest.
does.
It does, but D.C. is a bunch of wusses who, talk big. So, I mean, I think that it's just one of those things where everyone is freaking out. Everyone thinks we have to keep government open because,
Right.
and we don't. And I think that it's for the better if the president. I'm glad we have a president who's willing to shut down the government and who openly admits it. And you saw, I don't remember her name, but the Never Trumper who came out and said, this is actually making me more pro-Trump. Because finally we have a president who actually has the gall to say, if we're not getting the things I want to get done, that the American people voted to get done, then let's just shut it down. I think that's respectable.
I agree. And I was not a Trump supporter
Right.
in the election. And I watched him in that meeting with Pelosi and Schumer, and I thought it was great. I mean, who else but Trump would go in there and just
do
be
it.
like, yeah, I don't really care. I'll take the blame.
And my favorite part about that meeting was just how uncomfortable they were
Oh my
in front
God.
of cameras, and they didn't know whether
And they wouldn't look at him
They're like,
like they
are
were
we in a
looking at each
meeting,
other?
or are we
Yes.
in a kind of a photo op situation? And it just shows that they're completely different people when they're in front of the cameras versus when they are.
Well,
meeting
nobody's
with
going to
Trump.
be as comfortable as Trump is in
Right.
front of the camera.
Right.
Trump
Right.
owns the camera, but it is a little bit alarming that Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were that uncomfortable discussing the business of government
Yes.
in front of the American people.
God
Why
forbid.
can't we have this discussion?
Well,
right now?
especially when we were coming off from an administration who promised they were going to be the most transparent government that there ever had been. Of course, they weren't.
Right.
But I thought we were supposed to appreciate transparency, and then Pelosi gets in front of the cameras.
We
and
shouldn't
is
be
like,
discussing this in front of the American
yes,
people.
exactly.
Questions his manhood. By the way, Schumer's slouching a lot. I'm concerned about his posture.
He looks like
I don't have good
he looks like a
posture.
little like garden gnome. Like
Yeah.
he's sitting there, like it looks evil. I'm like,
He did. He
like
did.
demonic.
That's a perfect description.
It is actually eerily.
It was
perfect.
scary.
Yeah.
It was scary.
It's perfect. Drew, I want to talk about the wave of digital bomb threats.
Yeah, so this has been interesting. We've seen, we always talked about, working in counterterrorism before, how little things can have big impact, right? You look back to the DC sniper case. the area was paralyzed. You know, people weren't sure where where they were going to strike next, and it had a huge effect. And while I'm not trying to give like tips and pointers here. Like those have always been the concerning things. The bigger ones, you know, sans the biggest one, obviously on 9/11, you're usually able to figure out and stop and prevent because there's communications and logistics that go into this. But these ones here are interesting, and thankfully this didn't turn out to hurt anyone or have anything go wrong. But you had all these idle threats being sent across the country, you know, via email and other digital means, saying, "Hey, there's a bomb in the school, there's a bomb in the hospital, there's a bomb here, or multiple bombs." But what's really interesting about it is you had all of these folks being dispatched. You had bomb squads going out. You had, you know, SWAT teams going out. You had, you know, all sorts of emergency first responders going out and taking this very seriously. And I think that that's a serious problem because you're taking our first responders offline for something that's not real. It's easy to do. It's easy to send out a note to someone. You know, you've seen it. I remember, I don't know if you guys, but growing up, someone calls in a bomb threat to the school, and you know, and then you're all off. But like,
here's my question though: how do you determine if it's real? Because gosh forbid you end up ignoring, you know, a threat that is real.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish?
Yeah.
You're stuck taking all of them seriously anyway.
Yes.
Right.
But maybe it should have been a red flag when the person asked for Bitcoin instead of actual,
Exactly.
okay, so this is not a real threat. It's somebody who's read too much Ayn Rand.
Exactly. No, I think it was actually one of the members of the caravan. They're just trying to get money however they can. But
Find out how to get their 50 grand.
exactly.
Gonna get it somehow.
Yeah. But no, you have to take it seriously. That's the problem. Is like, and I hope that it doesn't catch on because it's like, gosh, this could devastate. You know, it strikes fear into people. It takes our first responders offline because they have to take it seriously, and it starts to hurt our economy because you have people scared. They're staying in. You just don't know what's going on. So it was an interesting story to me. Again, thankfully nothing came of it, but it's something that I think needs to be watched because hopefully people don't, hopefully they get smarter and ask for something other than Bitcoin. But like at least like a coupon or like a Groupon to like a restaurant.
At this point, a coupon would be much better than Bitcoin.
It would be.
I don't even look at my Bitcoin portfolio anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the coupons for the Clinton tour right
I see
now.
Bitcoin. I'm sure you saw this before.
Not sure
Bitcoin to me is like when people were saying, hey, you got to buy up a bunch of Iraqi dinar because it's coming back. Like everyone overseas would buy up this, like it's not coming back.
It's never coming back.
All the people who were like, it's going to be huge, have they responded to the fact that it's been a dud? Like, I feel like they should come out and address the public.
I think the working answer is, no, you just have to wait longer.
Okay,
I promise it's coming.
back.
I promise it's coming back. Really quickly before we go, I want to touch on Michael Cohen responding to President Trump. He is saying, look, President Trump knew that what we were doing was wrong. He knew that these payments were wrong. I'm going to jail, but he was also in on it. I want to get your take.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. First of all, we've gotten, what has it been, almost 2 years of bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. We're supposed to be talking about colluding with a foreign agent with Russia to completely dismantle our democracy. And instead now we have the fact that the lawyer made payments to 2 porn stars, and it's just completely distracted away from what the actual story is supposed to be. So I mean, the White House is so busy saying, our hands are clean, we didn't do anything from this. I mean, if the president did know about payments to the porn stars, does anyone care?
Yeah, no, exactly. That was my statement. Like, I could care less.
And I don't. And somehow they've concocted it so that it's campaign finance violation. Right. They're off for extortion. I mean, if they came to the president and said, "We demand you give us this money, or we're going to talk," that's extortion.
Yeah.
So it's incredible how the Southern District of New York and the special counsel, whoever's investigating it, has not gotten anything on that side, and instead has found all these minor violations from Trump associates, Trump campaign associates, Trump transition associates.
I think it's a little bit of a frightening precedent to set that you can have a special prosecutor appointed that's just going to shoot an arrow and paint a bullseye around it afterwards. If it's not Russian, if we really legitimately went from Russian collusion to paying off a porn star and that's what brings him down, that's not what you were supposed to be investigating. And if that's the way we're going to go, they're in trouble.
All right, back in a minute. Yeah. Stop. All right, don't forget, if you have not gone to the new site, the new app, Blaze TV, you've got to go there. We've got Drew with his show, Experience Matters.
Experience Matters every day.
Yes, and you've got Jon Miller.
The White House Brief is the name of the show.
The White House Brief, and
I'm not on there.
What-
Not on there.
What's
I mean,
with that?
do you want to join the club, or?
Oh yeah, I'll be on there soon, I'm sure.
Will you?
Especially after this performance.
That's true. That's true. This was your audition, but I'm not.
Not
so
trying to
sure
brag.
no, but you can go to blazetv.com and use promo code NewsChristmas. You can get $20 off. $20 off, yes, off of your year-long subscription. That is News Christmas. We've got a lot more to come in overtime. Those of you who are watching, who are subscribers, I would like to talk to you, Jesse, when we come back in overtime about your Twitter ban being deplatformed.
I'm sure you
Can you
want
give
to
us
talk to me.
all the dirt?
I'll give you all the
Give us
steam.
all the dirt coming up next. We'll see you in overtime.